just throw the peace on, tell them good vibes only, yeah. They were hating, but we didn't even notice, cause
Greetings and welcome back to Vibe Talks, the channel that brings you higher learning and enlightenment. I'm your host and guide, Jesse Johnson, and today we're going to talk about Christ consciousness. I know that many have heard about it within the spiritual community, the term, but maybe some don't even know a whole lot about what that is. And this is why I'm not only going to talk about it, but I'm going to discuss its origin and why it's a state of being for us all to be able to reach, to be able to fully develop within our spiritual journey. You see, some may think that Christ consciousness has to do with the Christian belief system or even religion in itself. And at first, I was one of those that originally thought that when I first heard the term. This may be surprising to you, but it has nothing to do with mainstream religion. It actually has everything to do with the higher state of being. It's when an individual becomes their own master and trusting in the greater powers than the self, which flourishes within. It's that moment where you wind up shaping your own destiny and you choose to become one with higher vibrations and to whatever name that you choose to be able to ascribe as Christ consciousness. It could be something else entirely. If anything, understand this. We all know and understand that spirit is not material. And to think what spirit is, one must shed the traditional ways of things and approach that understanding in a metaphysical way. To do this, one must clear their mind of everything. And I understand that could be quite challenging in today's age of distractions. It's casting out any past conditioned understanding and casting out any prejudices or any preconceived ideas. To know that each of us have the keys to the truth and that we all have a unique expression of that truth. It's not about who's right or wrong because it comes from the heart of higher understanding, which is everything that you will wind up learning here or even elsewhere. And it can feel difficult to start with, which I often tell people listen to your heart for the truth. Let that resonate within you and what is either taught here or even elsewhere. Christ consciousness is the highest state of intellectual development. It's like having that internal knowingness, and sometimes it seems like this knowledge winds up coming without any previous research. It's having that emotional maturity and giving no emotional response in moments when others would react. Christians did coin the phrase, but it has nothing to do with religion. They coined this phrase because Jesus did achieve that higher state of being in his human life when he was here in this reality, which was given the coined phrase Christ within that phrase to be able to recognize his status in his spiritual achievement. Christ consciousness is enlightenment. It's connection and living through our higher, wiser self, and in alignment with the universal and divine principles, as well as those laws within those principles. Jesus was not the only one. He was only one of many who had achieved this state of consciousness on this planet. We have Muhammad, we have Buddha, we have Rama, we have Krishna, we have Shiva, and we even have Mary Magdalene. In truth, the list goes on and on for many others, some that were not so famous. The higher state of consciousness is a state of awareness of our true nature. Our higher self is our birthright as a multidimensional soul in this universe, experiencing life in a third dimensional physical world. Wisdom comes from having the ability to forget to be able to remember. This consciousness is coming to know the true and whole self. It's when we can reconcile and we can release our struggles and wounds of our earthly experiences to know that they were lessons that we indeed signed up for to be able to grow, to learn, and a way to identify the struggles of others because we have been through it and to reach that level of understanding from it. It's when we wind up reaching our state of Christ consciousness that we wind up viewing these struggles from a higher consciousness. You see, the higher consciousness of Christ, it winds up promoting self-love, self-acceptance, which many in this physical reality wind up struggling with every day. With that, we wind up becoming loving and accepting others once this is achieved within ourselves. It's this consciousness that winds up speaking the truth from our heart center, which we put into words of peace, not from a place of judgment. Our mind and our heart must be in harmony and alignment with the mind and the heart of the divine. To know that we are every part of this and not separate from it. We all know that most of humanity thinks primarily through the lower, or what some would coin as the ego mind. And it's at the avoidance of that knowing heart. It's the ego mind that is mostly about safety and survival. It is the part of us which is why we can't kill that ego. Yet, it doesn't mean that it has to be the driving force of our life, or even have the privilege to ride in the front seat. Most of us know that it is consumed and defined by unconscious negative thoughts, fear, and defeating self-beliefs. Our ego is judgment, it's greedy, it's selfish, and it's driven by the need for power, control, resentment, and entitlement. The higher mind, or rather the Christ mind, it has the sense and it has the experience of being in everything and in nothing all at the same time. It's not defined by negative experiences and practices or even non-attachment. It's being in the world, but not of this world. This understanding is better explained with an analogy I have for you. It's about our dreams. You see, in our dreams, there's one character, which is us. It's with all the objects in everyone else that is not us. We do things and we wind up interacting with those people and those objects, and it all seems so real in that dream. Yet when we wake up, it's in that moment that we wind up realizing that it wasn't real. We were only dreaming, and that everything in that dream was created out of our own consciousness. We are the dreamer, not the dream. Another perspective to look at it is that God, or rather Source, his consciousness, had created this universe, right? But this doesn't mean in any way that Source, or rather God, is defined by its creation or even limited to it, any more than a dreamer's reality is limited to their dream. Christ consciousness is just another word for self-realization. It's oneness. It's samsara. It's nirvana. Or even spiritual enlightenment. No matter what the word is used to describe any of this, it's a prime meaning that means spiritual oneness and spiritual integration. It is the awakening of the heart and the integration of opposites, the sacred union of spirit and flesh, the inner and the outer, the light and the dark. It's the very non-dualistic, but in every way unifying. The other aspect is the Buddha nature. What's the Buddha nature? Well, the Buddha nature is the awakening of the mind instead of the spiritual integration I spoke about. With Buddha nature, it's about transcending that desire, that ego attachment, and that rediscovery of that primordial consciousness. In reality, there are two types of advanced, or rather a deep awakening that is present in our spiritual journey. It's the heart awakening, which is the Christ consciousness, and the mind awakening, which is considered the Buddha nature. Think about this for a moment. Consciousness is not something that you can acquire, because you can't acquire what you already are. It's reaching that higher vibrational understanding in the truth first with our heart, then with our mind. Where both wind up working at the same time as one unit. Christ consciousness is a term not affiliated to any religious belief, as I have stated earlier in this video. Although it was named after Jesus Christ in his spiritual evolution during his mortal life, And anyone can be connected to this type of consciousness if they are open to the concept and seek to obtain this awareness and this consciousness. Most religious masters have walked the path of love, light, peace, harmony, and bliss. It's generally been accounted after following a period of suffering. It's then that these masters have become enlightened along their journey in seeking truth to find that they had it within them the whole time. And so do you. This is not unique to any one of the prescribed religions that we all know about. Instead, it is a common theme amongst many belief groups, including shamans with the native culture. All people are capable of this enlightenment and awareness by opening their mind to higher possibilities. This is indeed Christ consciousness that has many other names for the same state of higher consciousness. The higher state of consciousness and its concept is within that yogic and Hindu concept, which to them it's reaching that state of samsara, which is interpreted as a deep spiritual bliss. The higher state of consciousness is available to all those who seek awareness and spiritual awakening, and regardless of their personal religious preferences or even their spiritual beliefs. There are many paths at the top of the mountain. It's about reaching the higher state and understanding within to be expressed outside of yourself. It's the task in waking up from that cosmic dream to find source creator hidden within its creation, which is you. It's the realization that the creator of the dream is beyond all creation. Christ consciousness is the awareness of the presence of source, which is at the heart of everything in creation, in every atom, every entity, here and galactically. It's in every plant, it's in every rock, every sun and every moon. It's everywhere. We are not separate from any of it. We are every bit a part of it. This higher state of awareness is understood as a universal truth, which is Christ consciousness. It's the spiritual essence hidden in the core of each individual. In fact, it's at the core of every atom of creation, and you are that creation. It is understanding that source creation, or who some would refer to as God, it's that infinite intelligence that is present in all creation. Everything within you and all around you that exists in the manifestation of source creation, or even God's own consciousness. We are that manifestation. You see, there's two forms of awakening that exist, yet they are both concepts that work as one. The first form of that awakening comes through love, devotion, courage, and surrender, as Jesus was the example of this within the history of humanity. The other form of this awakening comes through establishing that mental clarity, that detachment, that mindfulness, which is exemplified by the teaching of Buddha. If you were to expand your identity from your physical vessel and your person and your personality to the oneness, present spirit, you will wind up realizing that your consciousness is everywhere, all throughout the entire universe. Remote viewing and astral projection is just an example technique which allows our consciousness to be in other places and to have that awareness. It is then that you have attained Christ consciousness, just as many ascended masters who have walked among humanity have done throughout history. And to better understand Christ consciousness is being aware of your higher self and that you're a part of the higher universal system. It does not relate to you having the personality of Christ at all. It is merely a state of mind and a heart working as one. It is understanding that there is a universal and oneness present force everywhere around you and connecting with this higher power because you are in every way a part of it. Another way that you can view this is that Christ consciousness is a sense of being present in humanity and not being separate from it. The higher state of consciousness, it flows into what you if you have like that will or that capacity to wind up receiving it. It's having to the ability to be able to maintain it and truly understand the nature of it. That idea is to, for all of us, in finding a spiritual way, whether this is to be assisted by any form of religious belief, by any mentors that you wind up crossing paths with, guides that you run across with, watching videos like mine or other teachers, by intuition, or even your own self, your own inner reflection. The aim is that all of this is for you, the seeker and the receiver, to become more loving, to become more compassionate, to be more tolerant, to be patient, to be forgiving, to be understanding and content by following a new way of conscious thinking. By which means, which means by how that's achieved, that's not important. What is important is that you achieve that higher understanding, not how you got there. Spiritual growth is obtained by aligning with our inner thoughts and feelings. You should set your intention to become aware while understanding that you are a unique creation within the completeness of the whole. The human mind winds up acknowledging the divine mind, which gradually the awakening to the Christ consciousness, which in turn you become more enlightened with the greater understanding of higher forces that are operating all around you and within you all at the same moment. From my experience, and what many people have said in their own personal accounts within this journey, is that many, including myself, have felt a sense of inner conflict during any part of this awakening. Just know that is normal, and it happens because your mind, what happens is that your mind winds up adjusting to a different way of thinking and breaking itself free from that conditioned thinking of what you have been taught in the past. You see, the human mind has been conditioned from birth to think in logical ways and rational ways and using our physical five senses to wind up determining if this or that is true. An example would be looking to, like commercial values as it's another way in how we are conditioned to buy this product or to buy that product based upon the commercials that we are shown every day. Our senses are just a part of your physical functioning in your mindset and your third dimensional reality. It's what lies deep within the essence of us, the soul of us, that truly defines us. It's the Christ consciousness that masters the illusion of the third dimension because it winds up dwelling in higher dimensions and realms of the mental and the spiritual mind. It's the moment when one winds up transcending the limited time and space of the mind and the perspective, and to at the present to be present and to operate from a realm of possibilities. So one is being more in their light body while living in their physical body. And when this is achieved, you will wind up viewing life experiences not as you once did before, but from a higher and a more loving and accepting perspective of unconditional love and acceptance of the spirit of all that exists. With the willingness and the commitment, the Christ consciousness is obtainable, as many have achieved this higher state of being. It takes the desire and the dedicated practice to wind up striving and arriving at this higher state of being and living. Many currently are walking that journey and are well on their way in achieving this, and so can you. It is a continuous process of experiencing, learning, growing, expanding in awareness and love. This is part of what we are here to achieve as a soul in a human form while here in this earth school. Christ consciousness is to learn and to master separating ourselves from the third dimensional qualities, which rely on the five physical senses. Our five senses, along with our thoughts of major distractions from achieving that higher consciousness awareness and inner peace. Thoughts don't make us who we are. So the same can be said about our five senses. If you're deaf and blind, you're still you. Christ consciousness is the awareness of the higher self as being part of an infinite universal system. And although it can be interpreted in a number of different ways, a common understanding is that Christ consciousness is a state of consciousness in which a person had found self-realization and unity with Source, which is found within you. The whole idea is to transcend physical existence and experience in one's own divinity and godlike nature hidden within all of us. It's a part of love, peace, harmony, and bliss, which leads to an understanding of your present higher power that connects to all entities in the universe. It's meeting the grit and the grime of life through the heart of love, devotion, courage, and surrender. It's a fundamental part, a goal of your spiritual awakening process. It's a process of your journey in finding your true self, your higher self, and truth. Again, thank you so much for coming back for another great episode on Vibe Talks. Sit with this lecture for a minute with yourself in a quiet room and really look within yourself. Find the truth. Find the love. Find that connection to bring yourself in a higher vibrational state and consciousness. Thank you to all those who have newly subscribed to my channel. And for all those who have came across this video, please don't forget to hit the subscribe button below. I am your guide and your host, Jussie Johnson. And until next time, samsara.